That's how doing it. Yes, brilliant. Right. Okay. So now that I've done my housekeeping bit, welcome everyone. So today we have obviously a few speakers, and we've also got Marie here, as I say, who will be providing British Sign Language throughout. So Ryan Scott from Surrey Police, he'll be going first, so I'll pass you over to him in a minute. We've got David Bullen and Poi from Trading Standards, and yeah, I think without further ado, I'll pass you over to Ryan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. Let me just share my screen. Okay, hopefully everybody can see the presentation. So obviously we're here today to talk about road trading and doorstep crime. I'm going to be focusing specifically on Woking, obviously where I work. So road trading and doorstep crime contain many forms. I'm focusing on road roofers and builders at the moment, as that's where we've seen an increase in the crime offences. Road builders are those that cold call or leaflet drop at addresses. They try to convince you that you need remedial work completing on your roof, gutters or chimneys. This can either be just simply repairing some cement work or replacing tiles or a bit of pointing. Sometimes they'll complete leaflet drops in the areas, cold call. They'll be very convincing and sometimes intimidating as well, talking you into having the work completed. They'll point out work that they believe needs doing to the roof, chimneys or gutters, and it always starts as a minor piece of work that needs completing for a small fee. When they get on the roof, they will often find further work that needs completing. Sometimes they have caused damage themselves to the roof before they go up. And then that will obviously be charged at an inflated price that wasn't expected. They'll demand payment on the spot by either bank transfer or cash, and they have been known to drive people to the ATM to withdraw the money as well. The effect of road trading. So this is just some stats around Surrey and Woking. So the offences throughout 2024, as you can see, they've been fairly steady in the amount of offences that we've had throughout the year. In Woking, generally there have been about 20 to 30 reported incidents each month. As I say, they're all fairly consistent, but these are just the offences that we're aware of. We believe that this is happening on a much larger scale, and we're just not getting the reports of the offences through to us. Financial loss to the victims. So across Surrey in 2024 alone, there has been a £1.42 million loss to victims of just rogue trading. And in Woking alone, it's going to be higher than that now because this was a couple of days ago, but it was £159,000 just in Woking this year lost, which is obviously a large sum to those vulnerable victims who need that money. As we can see from the graph, the victims are generally targeted. They are between 70 and 100 years old. Obviously, we are seeing older. Most of the victims being in their 80s to late 80s, and they seem to be targeting those who live alone. And we are seeing that most of the victims are female victims as well. This is an account that was taken from a recent victim of road trading. James, who was 81, he said it started with a small amount of value to draw me in and then worked up to a large amount of £2,500. I'm angry that I got conned as well as losing the money. This has made me feel like a fool. They said they would come back the next day to replace some felting, which would cost me a further £6,500. That is when I contacted the police. I think people feeling angry at themselves and feeling like a fool is a general feeling that victims will have. And I think it's the embarrassment that will often stop them from telling people that it's happened or contacting family, friends, or the police. but we won't make you feel like that at all. Obviously, you'll be treated as a victim, as a serious victim, as a vulnerable victim, because these people have taken advantage of the people that they're doing the work for. So there's no need to feel foolish, no need to feel angry. Just contact us and we will help you as much as we can. So what to do if road traders or cold callers call at your address? Do not talk to unexpected callers at your door. If you do not be pressured into agreeing for work to start immediately. Ensure you get quotes for work from at least 3 different companies and check their reviews and previous work as well, and check across several websites or apps if you can, because sometimes they will fake their own reviews on their own websites. So make sure you're getting reviews from different sources. Look for a trader that's registered with an accredited trade body and has an alternative dispute resolution scheme. Sorry. Do not pay cash or by card on the doorstep, and do not attend a cash machine with the traders in any circumstances. If you sign a contract or enter a verbal agreement at home or online, you are legally entitled to a 14-day cancellation period. So make sure you're given those rights. A lot of these road traders or cold callers won't give you that right. They will do the work and leave. Just to show you that we are taking this seriously in Woking, on Tuesday, the 1st of October, I'm starting a large engagement campaign. So we're going to have representatives from Surrey Police, Trading Standards, Crime Stoppers, and Woking Council in different locations throughout Woking to offer support and assistance with road trading and fraud in general. It's not just road trading, we will have advice on other frauds. The locations for the stalls that we're going to have will be near Christchurch in Woking Town Centre, Sainsbury's Reading Way, Morrison's Goldsworth Road, and Asda on Albert Drive. As I say, here you can come and talk to us about road trading, cold calling, but frauds in general. And you can also pick up Trading Standards, no cold calling packs, and other literature to help you and remind you about what to do when they come to the door. And we'll also be doing leaflet drops and engagements in the communities in the areas where we've seen an increase in the offences or those that have been most targeted. As I say, we are taking this very seriously. I was in with some colleagues this morning from Trading Standards and the South East Regional Organised Crime Unit and my department. We conducted a warrant at an address for suspected road traders and cold callers, and we've had 3 people in custody, several vehicles seized, and other items seized in relation to the criminality that they are conducting. So, as I say, we are taking this very seriously. I encourage people to contact the police if this has happened to them, if they're victims. As I say, we probably aren't getting all the reports that we should. So even if they're older reports, a few months old, it will help us build a bigger picture around what's really happening and the victims that we're getting. And it will help us obviously get prosecutions on these people. Thank you. I'll pass back to Natalie.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ryan. So I think it's over to you now, David.
It is, yeah. I will just share my screen and get my presentation up. So bear with me, everyone.
Did you turn the audio on, David?
I have. I'm hoping that works. If it doesn't, shouts.
I'll let you know.
Yes. Right. Hopefully the technology is working and everyone can see my presentation. If it isn't, let me know because I can't see you anymore. So titled is How to Stay Safe from Doorstep Crime. Oh, it is working now. For some reason my screen wasn't moving on. So what do we mean by doorstep crime? Well, it's, sorry, my slides aren't, bear with me. Right, it's working now. I don't know what's happening there. It's the name given to crimes committed by bogus callers and rogue traders. And obviously, today's webinar is primarily focusing on rogue traders. So it's people who call uninvited at homes under the guise of legitimate business. And it includes broadly things like distraction burglary, bogus callers, rogue traders, and unscrupulous tradespeople, salespeople. One thing I would stress, though, is doorstep callers, doorstep criminals are sometimes invited callers. Don't assume that when we talk about doorstep crime, we are just referring to people who turn up on your doorstep uninvited. We deal with numerous cases where we might deal with one suspect and a number of different victims, and some of those victims will have had a knock at the door, and other victims may have found exactly the same people online over the websites. It's particularly common now, these sites where you can go online to effectively type in details of a job you require doing, and traders will contact you back online to quote for those jobs. That is seemingly a common method that people are using to get their foot in the door. So it's not always someone that just turns up on your doorstep, but it does only relate to people who are there for a bogus reason. So any councillors on the call at election time, don't worry, you can carry on calling on people's doors. I just want to give it an idea of the impact of doorstep crime. So I'm going to start by showing this video.
Tom appeared and said, "Don't panic. We've had a disaster." I was in shock. I just couldn't believe the wall between the living room and the hall could just crumble.
It was the worst example I'd seen in my sort of 15 plus years in trading standards. It looked like a bomb had gone off in the living room. The wall was just completely destroyed. There was dirt, rubble, dust covering the entire living room, bits of broken brick. The ceiling was sort of propped up with aqua props. Well, it didn't even look like a building site. It looked like someone had gone in there and just destroyed the living room and just completely massacred the wall. They were at the house for a few hours and they returned home. They walked into the house, and the first thing they would have seen is the wall between the living room and the hallway had been destroyed. That was the catalyst from the price going from what was originally probably a fair price to a completely and utterly astronomical, unreasonable figure for additional work, most of which was in no way required. I think looking at the gravity and the seriousness of this case, the only fair outcome was ever going to be a custodial sentence. And I hope it also sends a clear message to any other people that might be tempted to perpetrate similar crimes, and also that trading standards in Buckinghamshire and Surrey will investigate these matters and will bring these cases to prosecution. There were other pressing needs within the property. We realised that they didn't have running hot water upstairs, so we made initial attempts to get basic amenities provided, and then we worked with adult social care to ensure that they were safeguarded moving forwards, and actually then we worked to help them identify reputable traders who could be brought in to actually complete the original plans they had.
We would like to thank all involved from saving us from ourselves. Trading standards, enthusiasm for their profession and dedication to their work showed no limits.
It's quite a powerful video. I think you'd agree. With that case as well, we investigated another incident involving a couple in South London who'd lost over £67,000. But what I can tell you is the person behind the business was convicted of fraudulent trading and money laundering and sentenced to 4 years and 3 years to run concurrently. The person who was employed alongside him was jailed for 30 months. We deal with some horrific cases, but we do get results, which hopefully brings some comfort to the people involved. Just another example to show you. This is a driveway of a lady who we dealt with, who was paying out to have her driveway replaced. And these were some comments lifted, I think, from her victim impact statement, which were published in the press. And she said about the incident, "He was nice and civil towards me until he wasn't. He turned when I refused to give him more money. He took what was left of me. I feel alarmed and embarrassed. I have lost trust in myself and others." And so commonly, unfortunately, with this type of crime, it's that feeling of shame and embarrassment which people really get affected by, sometimes almost more than the money, actually. They don't want to tell anyone. They feel that they've been stupid in some way. And of course, that isn't the case at all. Anyone can be the victim of doorstep crime. It doesn't matter who you are or anything. But it very, very often comes with this feeling of embarrassment and that loss of trust in other people, loss of trust in yourselves, particularly for people who are maybe older and more vulnerable. That sense of becoming more isolated and lacking that sort of trust in yourself as well to manage. It's a really big problem. So it's much more than the money when we're talking about doorstep crime. The impacts are sadly far wider. Just with this case, the lady had agreed to have her driveway replaced for £2,500. She ended up paying £3,100 after being pressurised for more money and being taken to the bank to withdraw more money. And as you can see from the picture, the driveway was completely dug up. I think the rubble was eventually removed, but the driveway was never replaced. The traders left and never appeared again, leaving her without a driveway and minus over £3,000. In this case, however, the main culprit was also being looked at for offences by Surrey and Sussex police, and he was ultimately found guilty of matters exceeding, I think it was £247,000 that he'd taken from people and a number of victims, very vulnerable victims. And he was sentenced earlier this year to 8 years and 8 months in prison. And that's also a good example of how we can work well with the police. It was a police-led case, but they took our case as well. So that just gives you a flavour of a hope of what we're talking about when we're talking about doorstep crime. So how do you spot a rogue trader? What are we talking about? Well, if only it was this simple. If only they all looked like Del Boy, it would make matters much easier. The reality is that isn't what we see. I've got a leaflet here. I've blacked out the sort of personal details on it, but I just wanted people to have a look at it, see what they think. Is it a leaflet you would trust, you would feel confident in? As you can see, there's a website at the top. They've got a free phone number, a telephone number, an email address, and below that, all I've blacked it out is the home address. You can see they're members of various trade associations, free estimates and advice, all work fully guaranteed, no deposits, 14-day cooling off periods. Just wanted to get people's thoughts really on whether or not you think that is a leaflet you would feel confident in taking some reliance from. So I think Natalie's going to put up a poll just so we can get people's opinions. And I can't see if that's gone up, Natalie, because I'm sharing. So
yes, it has.
maybe
It has. I'll give it another couple seconds.
So when you're ready, do you want to read out the results? Well, I expect everyone else can see them, but I can't. So
Yeah, so I'll come off the survey now. Yeah, so majority was no at 46%, 23% said yes they would. Oh, it's still going. I'll close it now. There you go. 36% said maybe.
okay. I mean, in fairness, I probably gave people a little bit of a clue because probably the fact that I'm putting up the leaflet in a presentation about doorstep crime indicates that maybe the answer is more likely to be no. And those that went with no on this occasion would be correct. Although equally, a leaflet like this could be produced by someone that is reputable. It's just I know the person that produced this wasn't reputable. And it highlights the problem. They're using a website. You've got the free phone numbers. You can see they're members of the Confederation of Roofing Contractors, or they've got their logo on the documents. Same with Rated People. Do we actually know whether they're members or not? No, we don't. We're just looking at the logos on the paperwork. Thank you NHS is on there as well, so you can probably guess the sort of time when this leaflet would have been produced. And then along the bottom we've got various known brands logos like Velux and Redland that we've probably seen out and about, and then the nice sort of things like free estimates and advice that maybe make you feel a bit more confident. So it's really difficult to tell is I guess what I'm saying. But if you remember this shot from a moment ago, this was the leaflet that this gentleman was using, who got sentenced to 8 years and 8 months in prison. So be very careful in assuming that the leaflet is necessarily genuine just because it looks nice and glossy and colourful and what have you. So I guess what I was saying in a roundabout way is you can't spot a doorstep conman. The reality is it's very, very often organised criminality with organised crime groups involved in this. These are people who've got the time, the ability, the contacts, the money to put time and effort into creating a good veneer of respectability about what they're doing. These people do drive around in smart sign written vans. It's not, you can't just assume that a rogue trader turns up in a clapped out old banger anymore. Sometimes they do, but very often they may have a very modern, up to date sign written van, as we've seen websites, paperwork, phone numbers, addresses, and what have you. I'm not going to go through the whole list. Couple of things to note with addresses. Very often these people will use what we call accommodation addresses or mailbox addresses. So these are addresses that anyone can effectively pay for. They provide you with an address that you can use, but you don't have a physical presence at the address. It's just somewhere that mail is received and you go and collect it. They're obviously used perfectly legitimately for many legitimate reasons, but they're an ideal form of address for would-be road traders. Things like the trade associations. Actually, do we know they are members? Or have they just put the logo on their paperwork? Also, gone are the days when they just turn up and take cash. They now readily accept bank transfer. They're often keener to have bank transfer than cash. And as I've said, and I'll keep saying, they don't just cold call. So whilst we can't spot doorstep camelmen, there are certain things I would suggest that you can look out for. And these are some common sort of themes that I've come across in my years dealing with doorstep crime. So the classic, you've got a loose tile on your roof, we can fix that for you now. It will take 5 minutes. We've got the tiles on the back of the lorry. I can clean your gutters for £20. I mean, what a bargain. It's only £20. What else are you going to get for £20? Where else are you going to find that sort of deal? And, if it's autumn, winter, everyone probably needs their gutters cleaned. Absolute bargain. We were sent by the council, the government, trading standards. We have had trading standards before, believe it or not, whatever it might be, to make it sound official and believable. I'm doing a survey. I advise on safety, home security, you name it. These are the sort of things that we see. We were just working next door when we noticed that you'd got a leak from your gutter or whatever it might be. And this, in a sense, this is what I would call the baits, to use a fishing analogy. So these are the starters for 10. Can they get you hooked with a good offer that will reel you in? And once they've got you on the line, then you start with the things like the work needs doing otherwise, and I put insert catastrophic events. We've had all sorts. Your walls are going to crumble and your roof will fall in. Your chimney's going to collapse. You name it, we've probably had it. And of course, once you've agreed to have those gutters cleaned for £20, and while they're up there, they've moved a few tiles off the roof and they've left a little hole and it's about to rain in a couple of hours, and they're telling you the work needs doing, otherwise your roof's going to fall in. Well, you might feel you're sort of caught in a catch-22 there. You can't leave the roof unprotected, so you've got to go ahead and agree to have some more work done. And this is where the pressure starts mounting up. Well, we said it was £20 for the gutters, but actually it's a lot worse than we thought. We need you to pay X amount for materials. They may have told you it was all going to be free, you wouldn't pay anything till the end, nothing up front, and then suddenly, once they've made that big hole in your roof, they need a large amount for materials. So I guess the big thing there is, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Most people know if they try and get someone out to do work at their property, you're often waiting for quite a while. So if someone turns up on your doorstep and says, well, I can start in 5 minutes, it's only going to cost you £20, maybe you should be asking yourself, does it sound too good to be true? There are some common trades as well in my experience. So roofing, roof cleaning and guttering, I think personally, this is probably quite popular because if you've got someone up on the roof and they're telling you you've got loose tiles or whatever, most people aren't going to get up there to have a look. Most people probably can't see from the ground, and even if they can see, they don't know what they're looking at. And of course, if it's roof cleaning, there's no material outlay. It's easy to do, just squirting some water. Doesn't matter if the moss comes back in a couple of months because you'll be long gone by then with the money. If you're replacing the tiles, not I would know where to start, but I understand it's a bit like putting Lego together. They slot together. It's not difficult technical work. It's easy to find people that can put tiles on a roof fairly quickly. So it appeals. Driveways, similarly, block paving. You can lay the blocks down fairly in a rudimentary fashion. If the weeds come up in 2 months' time, again, you're long gone with the money. If you've squirted some water on and jet washed the drive, and there's problems, a few months down the line, it's not a problem. But again, minimal outlay, fairly easy work to do, and it looks good when you leave. If you've cleaned something, even just with water, it's probably going to look better than when you turned up, even if actually you haven't really done anything. And the other one is things like tree surgery or gardening work, because again, it's anyone can hack some branches off a tree with the right equipment, and it's probably very difficult work to do it right, but you can trim a tree and it will look okay when they leave. So there's some sort of common trades that we've identified, but don't assume it's just limited to those trades. So some top tips. Don't make a buying decision when trying to cook lunch. What do I mean by that? What I suppose I'm trying to say is these people rely on the fact that they're catching you off guard. They're catching you when you're not ready. Whether it's you're cooking lunch, you've just come in from the shops, you're in the middle of something else. When you want to buy something or when you want to get some work carried out, and you get someone round to quote you for it, you go to a shop to look at something, you might do some research first. You'll think about what you're happy to spend. You'll have an idea of what you want. You'll be in that right frame of mind to make a buying decision. Whereas someone turning up completely unannounced, catching you off guard, you're not in that right frame of mind. And I think also, if you didn't know it needed doing, it probably doesn't. Very often people say, oh, well, he said it needed doing, so it must do. Or, he said something terrible was going to happen if I didn't have it done. Actually, trust your instincts. If you don't think it needs doing, it probably doesn't. And if you didn't think it was urgent, it probably isn't urgent, regardless of the fact that they're telling you it is. You can always pick up the phone when someone leaves, and get someone legitimate out to ask the question, do I need this doing? Is there a problem? And get someone out that way. Don't let a great price or the ability to start immediately cloud your judgment. They're the things that they rely on. It's that too good to be true offer. Don't be drawn in by it. Don't let a trader find you. Find them. So that's that. Don't deal with cold callers again, really, and actually do your homework. Always get written quotes. Make sure they include addresses, phone numbers that you can verify, addresses that you can verify. We'd always say 2 or 3 quotes as a minimum. Friends, relatives that you trust, that you would trust to give you a recommendation. Make use of that. If you've got a good friend who's been using a roofer for years, they're brilliant and they do a lovely job, well, you know, that's a good recommendation. Are they members of a trade association? Check that they are. And what does it mean? You know, the fact that they're a member of a trade association doesn't mean you've got added protection necessarily. All it may mean is they've paid their annual membership fee. It may be nothing more really than a badge for them. So do some research. Are they a member? And yes, if they are a member, what does that scheme offer you? Does it add any extra protection for you? What can you do if something goes wrong? Is there some redress you can get through the scheme? So find those things out. Don't just be taken in by the badge. And again, as I keep plugging, don't deal with cold callers. And just a bit to finish off, we are at the end now, but I just wanted to touch on your rights. So these are your legal rights, as it were. So if you're getting work done at your home, it must be carried out with reasonable care and skill. So to a professional standard, not a DIY standard, but a professional standard. It must be in accordance with what has been agreed. So they should be doing what you've asked them to do and what's been agreed, and not something else, not something substandard. And if you've got goods provided as part of the contract, so you've paid them to do roofing and they're providing they're putting tiles on the roof, the tiles will be the goods. Those tiles have to be of satisfactory quality and installed correctly. And the installation obviously goes back to the reasonable care and skill again. So that's the end of my presentation. I think Poi's up next, so I will end my presentation. Oh no, sorry, one more point. You're entitled to a 14-day cooling off period. So where you've agreed to work off-trade premises, so in your home, as it were, you've signed up to a contract in your home, you get a 14-day cooling off period. So that now is the end of my presentation. I will stop sharing my screen and I'll hand over to Poi, who's up next.
Thank you, David, for that. So I'm going to share my screen. Just bear with me. And can someone confirm that they can see the screen?
Yep, all good. Did you turn your audio on, Poi?
I've just remembered I forgot to turn my audio on, so I'm just going to unshare my screen and put it back on. Sorry about that. Okay, can everyone hear that and hear me? Cool. Yeah. So we've got the final 15 minutes to talk about prevention. How do we prevent ourselves from being defrauded by doorstep scammers? And we're also going to touch on an element called courier fraud. So I'm just going to go onto the next screen. So let me just play this for you.
So a nice man on a bike will come and collect it shortly.
Very good, thank you.
Goodbye. Oh.
Hello, darling. I'm here about the package. Apparently, you spoke to a bank manager earlier today about some suspicious activity on your account. Is that right?
Yes. Right.
Cheers.
Here it is.
Smashing. And I take it the pins are in here too, the pins to the cards, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, don't worry about the accounts, OK? We'll get all that sorted out and... Excuse me, love. You don't mind, do you? All right, then. See you later.
Yes. Goodbye.
Yep.
So what is courier fraud? Courier fraud is when a scammer rings you. They say they are from the police, or they say that they are from the bank. They will say something on the lines that they are investigating the local bank staff because they think that they are that there's an inside job and that someone's dealing with counterfeit money, or someone is moving people's bank accounts and bank money to other criminals. Or they will say that they're from the police, and they're saying that they're from the police, that they've got someone in custody who has got your credit card or your debit card, and that they want you to help in their investigations, or to secure the money that's in your account by transferring into what they call a safe account. And a lot of people in the cold light of day think, well, why on earth are people falling for this scam? It seems so implausible. However, scammers are very, very coercive. They're very, very manipulative. They will do all sorts of social engineering on you. And they may also do what's called phone spoofing, which is when they mimic a bank phone number. And then when they ring, the phone number that they are calling you on is the bank number. So the scammers say something on the lines of, you see the number I'm ringing you on, go and get your bank card. At the back of your bank card, there's a phone number. And you can see that the phone number I'm ringing you from is your is the same number as the number at the back of your bank card, which helps legitimize their phone call. They will then go one step further and say something on the lines of, but just to really reassure you that we are the bank, hang up, ring the number at the back of your bank card, and you'll get to speak to one of my colleagues. So we have a number of clients who do this, hang up, and then ring the number at the back of the bank card, think that they're speaking to the bank, when actually the scammers have kept the phone line open. And then the scammers will groom them. They will reassure them, say that everything is okay. They will support them. They will safeguard them and their money. And they can do this over a number of hours, if not days, if not weeks. To the extent whereby they will even ask you to go to the bank, withdraw money, and ask you to keep your mobile phone on so that they can monitor your conversation with the bank staff, and will instruct you as to what to say to the bank staff if the bank staff ask you why you are making a cash withdrawal, why you are doing a bank transfer. That is how manipulative they are. So that is what courier fraud is. And if anyone is confused about the whole taking the rug off that video footage, it basically comes from the idiom pulling the rug from someone's feet. And that idiom has two meanings. It means either suddenly taking away help and support from someone, or it also means suddenly doing something that causes many problems for that person. So in this case, by taking someone's bank details and PIN, you are causing them a lot of distress because their money is not secured. But also, what scammers also do is tell you not to speak to your family and friends, because what they don't want you to do is speak to your family and friends, who can then tell you you are being scammed. So it also increases your social isolation. So that is what courier fraud is. It is a phone scam, but they would actually turn up at your door to get your money and your bank cards. So what can you do to protect yourself and others from scams? Firstly, never disclose your security details. Never, when the bank rings you, and they say there's suspicious activity in your account, never give them your memorable data. Never give them your account number, your sort code, or anything like that. They will need to ask you questions to verify your identity. So they will ask, a genuine bank will ask you questions such as, you made a payment of £35 last week. What was it for? Who is your utility company provider? They'll ask you questions like that. Similarly, a trader would not ask to come to your house if they're doing a garden work. So don't let them inside your property. So don't give them your security details. The next one is, don't assume everyone is genuine. Just because they have a logo, a leaflet, a fancy branded vehicle does not mean that they are genuine. Don't be rushed. If someone says to you, I can see a ridge tile off your garden roof, your neighbour's getting really annoyed with your the fact that your driveway is in a mess. If you don't think anything's a problem, don't feel rushed into agreeing to their works. And as David said, you have the 14-day cancellation rights. Listen to your instincts. If it feels funny, if it feels a bit odd, ask someone you trust, ask your friends and family, speak to your neighbours, and speak and listen to your instincts. And finally, stay in control. It's very difficult to do this, especially when you are in the, you are being manipulated by a scammer, but try and stay in control. So the other things that we can help you with is we can provide you with no cold calling sticker packs. It is not illegal for anyone to knock on your door, but if they don't leave when you ask them to do so, that is an illegal element, and that is harassment. So I'll tell them, you will call the police and get them to remove them from the doorstep. We can also provide door cameras in Buckinghamshire and Surrey residents for anyone who has been a victim of doorstep crime or is particularly vulnerable to doorstep crime. And information will be provided to you at the end of today's session. We can also provide free call blockers to stop nuisance calls on your landline. And that unit is called TrueCall. And if you want to keep up to date with scams and what's been going on in, in the world of trading standards and how to keep yourself informed, please follow us on your social media. We have a number of organisations which we can report a scam to. We would always thoroughly recommend that you do report if you have been scammed or you are concerned that someone you know has been scammed. Frauds and scams are chronically underreported, so we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. If you don't report a scam, we can't help you. What we don't know, we don't know. So please consider reporting the scam to us. So that's the end of our presentation. Any questions? So Natalie, you can put it in the chat or we can start.
I'm just going to stop sharing just before we, not sharing, sorry, recording. So bear with, stop recording.